What's happening? Oh no. Shamil? Okay. Polish Power, we've got Jerry Warscreen. Chama's been super effective against the Russians. Shamil used 2 significant strikes per minute? That's so boring!
Chama's
super effective? That's how we do it, boys. Is this Watch Mojo? Nope, it's MMA Randy. And today we're going to be counting down the 10 worst women's UFC fighters of all time. So if I hurt some feelings, like I know I will, let me know in the comments. I won't be reading it, but I've heard venting's a good way to cope, you big bald fat son of a bitch. Starting off at number 10, we have Kat Zingano. Now, Kat could have easily made my top 10 list if she continued off of the performances she had early in her career. I mean, she started off her career in the UFC with a round 2 rear naked choke finish of Raquel Pennington. Then she'd had back-to-back round 3 finishes of Miesha Tate and Amanda Nunes. She was on fire. And then Rhonda Rousey tore her arm off in 14 seconds. And then she dropped 3 more, leaving the UFC with a career 3-4. She did end up making a somewhat successful return to fighting in 2020, and then Chris Cyborg killed her. Coming in at number 9, we have Beth Correa. Beth was 8-0, great-looking prospect, undefeated, until her face met Rhonda Rousey's fist in the first minute of round 1. Rhonda really did expose a ton of these fighters before she was exposed herself. Oh, how the fighter fumbles. After Beth's loss to Rhonda, it was really a downhill battle for her, losing 6 of her next 8 UFC fights, finally retiring after dropping 2 in a row to Pani Kianzad and Carol Rosa. The only moment I really remember of hers is her getting knocked out by Rhonda, and that's really it. At number 8, we've got Joanne Wood, or as you may know her, Joanne Calderwood. And no, she didn't just wake up one day and decide to abbreviate her name. She got married. I checked. But Joanne actually holds a little-known UFC record. She was submitted 5 times in her career in the UFC, the most of any female fighter in the UFC's history. Joanne ended her career in the UFC with a 9-8 record. Did Joanne even retire? She's got to be like 40 now. Anyway, next up, coming in at number 7 on our list, we have well, gosh, Mr. White. Goofy Juliana Pena. Her fighting style it's actually how I'd imagine my mom fighting. Watch. Need I say more? When I think of Pena, I don't see her finishing a lazy Amanda Nunes. I see this. At number 6, we've got the opposite of spicy, Carla Esparza. One member of what's known colloquially as the worst UFC fight ever. I remember having non-fight fan friends over for this card. And you know how it goes. You spend the week playing car salesman, and this is a once-in-a-lifetime event. Oh, you can't miss it, man. Oh, it's guaranteed fireworks. Tug woes. Only to get the shit sandwich that was Rose versus Carla. It took me months to get past that one. Sitting on the couch going, oh, here they go. Oh, they're gonna start throwing. Oh, any minute now. For 25 minutes. Embarrassing. No, you're number 6. Not the worst fighter on the list, but easily one of the worst styles in the game. Landing right in the middle of my list here at number 5 is the Fighting Grandma, Roxanne Modafferi. That's not her nickname, but come on now. Now, she has an interesting story. So she was actually on The Ultimate Fighter Season 18. She was knocked out in her semifinals match, and then by sheer luck and an injury of the fighter who knocked her out, she was able to step in as a replacement and step right into the Ultimate Fighter Season 18 finals, where she would lose to Raquel Pennington. Now, the crazy thing about this isn't that it happened. It's that, dude, it happened twice. Roxanne came back to fight on Tough Season 26, where she'd lost in the semifinals to Sijara Eubanks. Then, due to her insane luck, Eubanks was injured, leaving Roxanne to once again fall into The Ultimate Fighter finale match, where she would lose again to Nico Montano. Retiring in 2022 and leaving a record of 4-8 in the UFC, Roxanne Modafferi is number 5 on my list. Down at number 4, we've got Jessica I, or as I like to call her, Jessica I went 5-10 in the UFC, or Jessica I lost MMA Randy a bunch of money back in 2019. Jessica's time in the UFC started in 2013, and out of her first 7 fights, she'd only win one of them, against Leslie Smith. And that fight ended up being the only finish she would get for the rest of her career. Low volume and close fights led her to a slow, painful downfall. And later in her career, becoming what some would call a bathroom break in the middle of the card. At number 3, we've got the lesser-known Danielle Wolf. Now, she's a weird one. So she fought her first fight ever, amateur or pro, her first fight ever, on the Contender Series in 2020 when she was 37 years old. None of it makes sense. And then 2 years later, at the ripe old age of 39, she had her first fight ever in the UFC, where she'd lose by unanimous decision to Norma Dumont. Why was she even in the UFC? Why did they put her on Contender Series with no amateur bouts whatsoever or professional bouts, just 0-0? I've never fought. I've been to an MMA gym. What the hell is even that? I don't have much else on her because there just isn't. Right near the bottom of our list, at number 2, we have Zara Farin. So Zara came to the UFC with a record of 5-2 on the regional scene, ready to show the world what she was made of. Zara went on to lose her next 4 fights in a row. Megan Anderson by triangle choke in the first, and then to Felicia Spencer by ground and pound in the first, and then 2 decision losses, ending her title run in the UFC at an astonishing 0-4. Now, she actually had one more fight after this outside of the UFC under Aries Fighting Championship, where she would also lose by rear naked choke. Wow. You made it to number 1 with an overall record of 3-8 in the UFC, and not one fight that didn't go the distance in her entire career. Ashley Yoder is what I believe to be the worst female fighter in UFC history. Yoder made her career on barely winning or clearly losing rounds. Now, I've been watching UFC since around 2014. I sat through her entire career. There's not one fight on her record that I can recall a single moment of. I can remember specific punches from Joanna's fights, Weili Zhang, Joanna's fight with Weili Zhang, Rose Namajunas, Jessica Andrade, Valentina, Alexa Grasso. There's so many names I could go through where there are specific moments and events that I remember in their careers. Ashley Yoder fought 11 times in the UFC and never performed well enough to be memorable or poorly enough to be finished, leaving the UFC with no memories of greatness or defeat. That's why she takes the top spot of what I believe to be the worst female fighter in UFC history. Let me know in the comments what you think I got wrong. Thanks for watching, and I'm not trying to be brash. Critical, maybe. Bold, most definitely, but not brash. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Seriously, guys, need to see where the old needle's at this one. Don't know you've gone too far till you're floating in the deep end, right? Bye.